Hello there! Did you think you'd ever see me again? Did you not want to see me again? Did you subscribe and forget and now you're like, oh God, he's back? But it's episode 28. Got a guest on today. How you been, by the way? How are you doing, guys? Got a guest on. Very funny comedian that's no longer active, when he explains it. He said he will do a gig, but he's not chasing it, which is a very exhausting way to live your life. I mean, it's not fucking mining cobalt, but you know. But Liam Malone, interesting guy. Always sort of liked his opinions. He has a very good way of expressing his opinions. And as we get into it, the reason I got him on was he was not pro-Trump. And everything I see, as this whole episode's about, is I've never seen, and I know we are all, and we have to be aware of this. This is what the point of this is. Do not think online is your device isn't a thermometer. It's a scale of where people's opinions is. The thumb is on the scale. It's curated. It's editorialized. You are getting a processed and treated and curated version of reality. You know, I always worry about this, that, you know, we used to come together and have appointment viewing, like, you know, at Christmas everyone would watch the Morecambe and Wise repeat, and on Sundays going back even more, everyone would congregate in a big stone building and sing songs, you know. We don't do that anymore, and not only do we not come together and share our reality, the realities that we share aren't the same ones. We have our realities, you know, and it's a bit like when you watch ITV and you watch ITV, and I grew up in East Anglia and we had Anglia television, and you'd have the adverts, which you'd have your big adverts, wouldn't you, which were for things like Cinzano or Heineken or fucking Toyota motor cars, and then towards the end of the adverts you'd get the one that was like Pleasurewood Hills, which was a local shit theme park, and obviously someone watching that in Manchester. Pleasurewood Hills weren't advertising in Manchester, so that was the very even younger. When I went on holiday, you'd go visit family or somewhere, you're a different part of the world, and the adverts were slightly different. Like we had Anglian Home Improvements, and they'd have Safe Style UK windows, and just little things like that. So I was always aware that we didn't all live. That was the very early signs of sort of like having a slightly different reality. But I just think that we're now in a place where our realities are so fucking different, are so scattered to all different directions, that unless you are constantly aware of it, you can be tricked into thinking that the populace think a certain way, and it's not. I go on Twitter and I go, oh, trending. Look what everyone's talking about. Everyone on Twitter thinks Trump's brilliant. Not everyone on Twitter thinks Trump's brilliant. There's 100 million people on Twitter. Of course, I can't get a feeling for how everyone feels, or a consensus, or the sort of like medium, the sort of middle of the road. What does everyone think? I just get the one that they think I want. And this is the thing: your algorithm isn't curated to what you want. It's curated to what they think you might want and definitely will engage with, as Liam says. It's a very astute point. It's not like, oh, this guy loves Trump, let's send him loads of positive articles about Trump. It might be this guy hates Trump. Every time he gets a positive article on Trump, he writes a diatribe and says how much he hates Trump. Let's see if we can get him doing that, because every keystroke for some reason is like they're mining something from us. That's the that seems to be the currency on which me and Liam more talk about Facebook, which we like towards the end, and he's right. I don't really see the business model of Facebook. And there's always that old adage that if you don't have to pay for the product, you are the product. So either Facebook is just an extension of Operation Nightingale, was it? There was an operation where the CIA started to use media to sort of like push certain messages, and it was either Nightingale or Midnight. I can't remember which one it was. But so either Facebook is just the social media, let's say, is just now an arm of mind control, or they're harvesting our thoughts, or a little bit of all of the above. Just look at it and know that you're being fed what they want you to be fed. They're getting you to act in a way in which they want you to act. Or even if that is just acting at all, they want you to do something. Just be a bit resistant of it or mindful of it. And this conversation came about that I started to notice that the love for Trump I was getting from all of my social media platforms, and I'm talking YouTube, X, TikTok, everything was just so pro. Trump's amazing, he's doing this, doing that. I started to get suspicious, and I started to go, wow, Trump's this amazing politician that everybody loves. He's like a superhero. He's like an Avenger coming. He's surrounded himself by all of these like movers and shakers and geniuses, and he's actually getting stuff done. He campaigned on some policies. He's actually gone in there and without fucking about, what we always thought a politician could never do, he's enacting real change. And I was thinking, this is so universally positive, I am now suspicious. That is honestly, that's the only reason. And I saw Liam online saying, Trump, I hate him. And I was like, Liam won't just, I said to him, he won't just have Trump derangement syndrome and go, oh, he's a fascist. Why? Because he is. Do you think fascists are good? No, I don't. Well, Trump's a fascist. Not that sort of cyclical argument. So I wanted to get him on. And towards the end, he says he's got like a more of a visceral sort of like just something about him winds him up. And I do get that. He is strange, Trump. But I do like seeing people upset by him. I mean, that's the thing. I don't want to be that. I'm trying to be more, not enlightened, but a little bit higher resonance. And I don't want to be one of those people that go, oh, I just like the fact that all like the people that annoy me. He's upsetting the people that annoy me generally. So but I can't support someone just because he's pissing off people that I don't like. I mean, I don't know. What's that? So, anyways, interesting conversation, I hope. There's a little bit in it where he touches... I've had guests on here talking about certain things that he just completely poo-poos. And I hope you can see, and I hope you don't think, oh, Panks, you've got no backbone. You just completely capitulated and rolled over and became this malleable... sort of shapeshifter to avoid confrontation. I don't want to have confrontations. I can get people on here and argue. I mean, it would be good for engagements. I don't want that. So I want you to see that you can speak to someone who completely has a polar opposite point of view to something that you've entertained and go, this is how you can just sort of navigate that without going, you're wrong, or, yeah, no, you're right, and just go, yeah, I get that, but isn't it, I don't know. I hope it doesn't come across as slippery and insincere, because it's the opposite. I want to be able to, we need to be able to talk to each other. You know, it's going to get to the point where faiths, and it's all faith, right? We speak about that. In a post-truth world, which we live in, which makes no sense, it's faith. So people have a faith in Donald Trump or a faith in that but some people have faith that is the second coming of Christ, and some people have faith that is the devil. And neither of those two people seem as concerned with facts as they should. So when you live in an era like that, in a post-truth time, you have to be able to just talk to people and go, oh, right, I don't want to win. I don't want to convince. I don't. Is it proselytise? I don't want to win anyone over. I don't want to browbeat them. I don't want to bully them into seeing things my way. I don't really care if they don't see things my way. I would like them to acknowledge I have a right to see things how I see them, as long as I'm not hurting anybody. So that's how I try to navigate people with a different point of view. Anyway, let's get into it. And here he is, live on the television screen. It's Liam Mullone. Hello, Liam. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. I came in a bit more energy than you, though. I could have predicted this. So, Liam,
nobody wants me to talk for my energy.
No, I don't. We're not interested in energy here. We take people as they come. So, a little bit of backstory for the listener. Am I right in thinking you no longer do stand-up?
I haven't done it for a while. I do it if anyone asks me specifically, but I don't go out there and sell myself because we moved to Devon and it became quite difficult.
Yeah,
with the kids and everything. So
yeah.
yeah, same old story.
Well, I live in Norfolk, which is not quite as out on. I don't know. Maybe is as out on a limb as Devon, actually. I mean, Cornwall's the really out of the way one, isn't
It's
it?
less hills.
Yeah, there's less
uh,
hills.
yeah, Cornwall's another step again because it doesn't even have any motorways. But
No, you get to Cornwall and you think, oh, I'm in Cornwall, and then you're like, oh, then use another 2 fucking hours
then it's
from
like more
Cornwall.
Cornwall and then more Cornwall, and you're
Yeah.
like, how long is Cornwall?
How long? Yeah, how long? It goes on forever. It's like a
Does it go
treadmill.
right into the middle of the Atlantic, Cornwall?
I feel that when they built the road in Cornwall, they built it on a treadmill. It just never ends. But my wife spent some time in Bodmin. Her parents moved from Doncaster and bought a pub there, and she fucking hates Cornwall. She says they're very insular and not very welcoming. I don't know if that's true. Is that an aspersion? I don't know.
Well, you can kind of see where they're coming from because they can't afford to live anyway. I mean, the thing about the only good thing about Cornwall is it's beautiful and
Yeah,
the coastal scenery is amazing, but
yeah.
they're not allowed to live anywhere near it because they can't afford it.
I guess that
So
is the
they're kind of
downside.
like it's kind of like a dystopian half world where they're all forced into the internals, where when you're in the middle of Cornwall, every house you go past is sort of like you've got wrecked cars jacked up on bricks in every garden, and it's kind of like it reminds me a lot of being in the southern states of the US,
Mm.
like going through places like Tuskegee, Alabama,
The
and that sort of
flyover
places.
states, as they
It's
call
it's
them.
not that
Mm.
different.
Mm.
And the people there feel similarly alienated from the country they're meant to be part of.
This
It's
is the
quite
downside of living in a resort, though, because it becomes a playground of people like this second and third home country. And the other is that black and white sort of like St George's flag called the Kerno or something like that.
oh
Their
the
flag.
Cornish flag, yeah.
When
I
I
don't.
did Boardmasters,
Oh, Kerno, it's just the original Britannic word for Cornwall.
oh, okay. So they had the
Yeah,
black. And for those who don't know, it's like I think it's the white St George's cross and a black background, basically. Or and
St Piran's Cross.
there you go. And they had these stickers on every, you know what I mean, fucking camper van, and it said "fuck your second home" in the squares. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, that must be a real problem here. They've got merch.
I can see where they're coming
I
from.
can as well. We've got that here with Burnham Market. They call it Chelsea on Sea. It's a very rich,
Yeah.
yeah, very wealthy little red brick market town on the Norfolk coast that, well, it's called Chelsea on Sea, tells you everything you need to know. But anyway, I wanted to get you on because I'm interested. I've become very suspicious of my reality. Or, hang on, I think we briefly spoke. I think you agree with me that the algorithm is quite a kind of insidious little dangerous thing that you can believe that the algorithm is the temperature of society.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
not in that. Do you remember when they had that? I don't know if this is true. They had this thing where it was like they said, "Oh, this is the hottest August day on record," and then it turns out that where they measured it was on some runway in Lincolnshire, and the thermometer was like behind a jet engine. And it's like, so you can think, is that an accurate reading of the temperature? And I think the danger with the algorithm is we think, oh, everyone on Twitter is saying this, but you don't know what everyone on Twitter is saying. You get to see what they show you, don't you? And think that's the tone of everyone.
Yes. Yes. And I think Facebook is struggling. Well, I mean, it's not struggling. Struggling suggests that someone wants to make it better, and I don't think anyone does.
No.
But Facebook, the way Facebook tries to look at what a British person thinks and believes and expresses opinions about, and then tries to give them feeds that we assume it's trying to give us feeds that will interest us, that are American. It's all over the place because we are so unlike America now that there isn't really a comparison. We used to think that, well, Republicans, that's kind of like being a conservative, and Democrats, that's kind of like voting for Labour.
Yeah.
But it's not the same currency. It's just nothing like it. And so because I've posted the occasional sort of, you know how you like to just just poke your friends and get a reaction out of them and just lightly rib them in a way that you understand because you're friends. And I'll say like, oh, so, I'll say something about Thatcher. Wasn't Thatcher great? and I don't know. It seems like Facebook is looking at that and going, here's a load of insanity from Trump supporters. You'll
Yes.
like this.
Yes. I
Because
feel
you
like the
said that you like
algorithm
Thatcher.
is constantly trying to radicalise me. You know, like we read these articles about the mad mullah in the Finsbury Park Mosque who's got extremist. I feel like the algorithm just wants everyone to be a fucking lunatic in whatever direction. There's no nuance.
Well, it's Stephen Fry actually spoke about this quite eloquently, and he said, you have to remember that it's Facebook isn't set up to have interesting conversations. It's not there for you to find your tribe. It's there to get engagement, and that as a neutral word without any positive or negative attachments to it, just engagement. If you say fuck off, that's engagement. If you're like, oh, I agree with you, that's engagement. If you just write something, I keep getting these groups that are so insane. I'm like, it just gets their reaction out of me, like you're a twat and fuck you, and then I'm like, and then I'll block that group. But I haven't won that because it's got my engagement.
Yes.
Like, so what the hell am I doing?
Yeah. And I've noticed that it's now got an extra layer to it. Was if someone like posted something, I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of engagement, I'd screenshot it. And I know that the algorithm knows when you're screenshotting. That used to be, I thought, and maybe it was a separate layer of technology. Like my phone is just capturing what's on the screen, but the platform now knows. I'm sure it does. Do you think that as well or not?
I don't understand IT enough to know whether that's the case or not. I think there's a lot going on that it's like when Darren Brown did that thing with the goldfish and people trying to win money, and people just, in a very short space of time, decided that the time to press the button was when the goldfish was on this side of the tank.
Right.
And actually, there was no connection at all. It's just that humans have to form a pattern, otherwise we can't live in the world. So we will see patterns where they don't exist. And I think with technology, we become quite paranoid and think, oh, that's because I did that, and that's because I did this.
Fascinating. There is an effect, isn't there? And I don't know what me and my friends, we now just say, simulation, which when it first becomes apparent to you that your device is listening constantly, and you say, I need to unblock my drain, and then all of a sudden you see an advert for drain rods, which I've never seen that before.
Yes.
So you're saying that as humans, we are already programmed to make order in the chaos, aren't we? I think you're right. So the algorithm is now doing what our brains always did anyway, kind of thing. I don't know where that's going. But...
Yeah. And the thing is that there is, it's not a completely mad thing to think, I'm seeing this because I did that, because that is happening. It's like, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not watching it, because they are. It's kind of that perfect storm. Like with AIDS in the 80s, me and my friends always basically were convinced we had AIDS all the time.
Same.
Because you didn't really know how it worked. We didn't understand virology, and the government was like, forget what you're doing for 2 seconds and you've got AIDS. And we were like, well, okay, they think government says we've got AIDS.
Well, the thing about AIDS is it was just like, because it's an immune thing, it's like if you got the first symptoms of having AIDS could be a cold, the mumps.
Yes.
So everything I got was
like, anything that was happening anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, the reason I think that if one thing comes from what I'd like anyone listening to this to say is just be aware of the algorithm, that your reality, what you deem to be the pulse of it, is heavily curated. And I know it depends which platform you're on, but it also just depends on who you engage with. But I just think that some people, like I said, you go out in the street in the old days and you might walk down to the town centre and you go, everyone hates the new traffic calming thing down there because that's what everyone's saying. That was a genuine pulse, right?
Yeah.
And now it's so fucking curated, you just have to be aware of that. So everything I look at now, I go, right, why am I seeing that? What do they want me to do? And what's in it for the person posting it, or the pangendrums of the platform, if you like. So I wanted to get you on because I saw you posting some stuff.
So hang on, you're not convinced that that everyone really hates the traffic calming?
I'm saying that in the old days, if you went into the street,
because I'm a district councillor, I can assure you, everyone hates the traffic calming.
Yes, they do. But when you go on, because specifically to why I wanted to get you on, my algorithm, I've become deeply suspicious of because it is universal Trump love. Now, I don't know if that's because of where my engagements have been or the things I've looked at or what my algorithm... It's like this. The algorithm is like your circle of friends in a way, Liam. And you like your friends. You like Paul and you like Dave and you like Barry, right? And then Barry goes, oh, wait till you meet Clive. You're going to love Clive. And I always hate people that do that. And you meet Clive for a friend of a friend and you can't fucking stand Clive. But there you are in a pub with Clive. And the algorithm... You mustn't think that you're a product of it. It's not what you want. It's what they think you want. And there is a distinction there.
Facebook is like you end up throwing a pint of beer over Clive and your friend going, he's engaged with Clive.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Exactly.
No, and people like Clive.
Are you like me? Are you a little bit perverse? That if someone says to me, wait till you meet this bloke, you'll like him, I already don't like him. It's in my character to not want to like him on a subconscious level.
It kind of depends on the my history with the friend that's recommending the.
Yeah, I just don't like anyone telling me what I want. I just don't like. You don't know me. Yes. I don't even know me. That's the thing, Liam. I don't know what I think. So when I just get constant Trump love, and it's all just like he's done this. Oh, the snowflakes are crying about this. Fine, and looking at it, I started to buy it. The last few weeks, I've been going, fuck me. And I'm not even anti him. The thing about Trump, he's the most polarising politician in my lifetime. And I don't just mean polarising in that there's no middle. It's like love or hate. It's that the people that love him talk like he's the second coming of Christ. And the people that don't like him talk like he's the second coming of Hitler or Satan. So he is loved or reviled, I think. And I started to sort of go, fucking hell, at least he's coming, he's doing what he's saying. I'm like, no. It's so universal. I have a deep mistrust of, like you said, just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean that they're not out to get me. So I saw you posting some sort of like, I think that you'll be a bit more nuanced, not just Orange Man bad is how the anti-Trump argument is reducted as. So I'd like to get you on and tell me why I'm right to not buy it.
There's a part of me that would like to be on Trump's side because everybody I know and who I'm actually friends with on Facebook. I mean, Facebook doesn't. It used to show you stuff from your friends, but I've got friends I've never heard from. Either they've like decided to block me and they don't want to hear from me, which is perfectly understandable, or I'm just. I don't know. Facebook has decided to replace them with just some randoms.
Yes, and stuff like
but
that.
I've got half people. I don't know. Probably the people that come up on my timeline are now about 20% people I like and want to hear from, 30% randoms that have just I got in discussions with, but they seem all right, and the rest of them are just fucking Johnny from Pizzicorni saying let's expel all the Mexicans, and I'm like, why am I getting this? 50%.
Yeah, that's more like
where
they're
is
trying
this
to push
coming
that
from?
message.
I never asked for this.
No, yeah,
and I keep banning them, but I can't ban everyone in the world.
No,
that's going to take a long time.
That's what we used to do. We didn't used to have. I didn't used to have 1,500 friends. So you didn't have to ban them, did you? Because you just didn't interact with them. You just walk past them.
But it's not even. I mean, someone you've made your friends with on Facebook, we always knew was never an actual friend. It was just a Facebook friend. But I'm not even getting Facebook friends. I'm getting complete randoms that I never asked to meet.
Oh, so it's a big thing in my life now where I go, oh, I haven't heard from so-and-so for ages. Does that fucking motherfucker block me? And I looked and they haven't. Like you said, I'm just getting stuff I'm not interested in by people I don't know more and more. But let me set out. So this is what I'm seeing in my, and I'm aware this is my algorithm. And I said, I'm aware that it's been curated for me. Now, I've got this ongoing thing where I say on my Instagram and stuff, I get endless reels of dwarf women in bikinis. Now, I know that the obvious thing to say is be like, hey, you've Googled that, you like... And I don't, but because I've looked and then I've screenshotted it, that's where my screenshot theory comes from. And I send to my mates going, does anyone else get this all the time? That's all I fucking get now. So I'm not going to let anybody shame me for my algorithm. But my algorithm is Trump's...
But that's because you have at some point reacted to it, but it wasn't... It wasn't necessarily a reaction like, oh, that's exactly what I'm into. Let's see some of that. It was, and it's not necessarily a reaction you remember. You might have turned on your computer when you're completely drunk and thought, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And then because that's your reaction, you want to look more closely at it. And then it's like, more of that then for you.
I think they know.
Forever.
I think they know, because all our phones have got front-facing camera. I think they even track your eyes to what you're looking at. I know that might sound
Okay.
paranoid. When you scroll past and I see a comment from Liam Malone and I just look at it and I don't click like or interact, I just look at your comment and then I scroll on, you start coming up in my feed. It's so sophisticated now, I think. Again, that might be paranoid.
I think it can track. I'm not sure it can track your eyes yet, but I think it can track the time you linger on a comment or a page.
Yeah, I guess.
But
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
but then it could. You've got several comments going on in your. How's it going to know which one you? I don't know.
But I bet it
I
does
don't
know.
but-
I bet it does know. Okay, I'm a conspiracy guy, but I bet it can tell if your eyes are mid-screen, where I bet they are 75% of the time, and it knows how scrolled up or down you are and where you linger. I don't think it would be. This thing. I'm from a generation where that sounds insane, but it's a line of code now. It's so sophisticated. It's like basically a programmer writes a little line of code and that's done. I saw this bloke call it. He said the new not terrorism. Sort of like he goes, what the government do now with the censorship. He called it weapons of mass deletion, and it's like everything's curated now. You used to be able to choose, didn't you? I will buy the Times or I'll buy the Observer.
Yeah.
Now it's forced upon you.
I've realised, because I like looking at things in the news and then saying, what does everyone think about this? And I can't do that anymore. That was what I mostly wanted Facebook for. And I can't do that anymore, because if you link to anything from any other news source outside of Facebook, it just shoves it down the algorithm and makes sure nobody sees it. So I can't have interesting discussions. All I can do is knee-jerk reactions. That's all it's good for now. Like, how dare you say that? That's the only reaction that Facebook is farming.
It's like the old Chortle forums, but for the world, isn't it? like for news.
But, well, yeah.
For those who don't know, there used to be there probably still is a website called Chortle, and before social media, it had a message board. You was around for that, weren't you?
Yeah,
it was glorious.
The funny thing about Chortle forums was that even though it was just everyone telling everyone else to fuck off, we sort of thought that there was at least 50 or 60 of us. And it turns out there was about 4 of us, and we all had 64 different identities.
Yeah, you had to have a pseudonym, didn't you? So you go, oh, Justin Panks, I saw an act called. I see people doing stuff like that now. But when they were sort of like, the new one is, an audience member came up to me after the show and said, oh, I haven't laughed for 6 months because my whole family died of cancer, but you're brilliant. And I'm like, did they say that? I'm sure that's true. But here, I'm going to set out the chess pieces of what I'm seeing, right? So Trump has campaigned on a series of promises. He's won by a good margin. He's got in, and he's just started from day one signing executive orders and doing what he said he would do. That is universally what my algorithm shows me. Isn't it amazing that we've got this new breed of politician, never been seen before, unprecedented, pardon the pun. He's come in and is actually doing what he said he would do. Is that what you see or not? Is that?
I see huge amounts of that, yeah. Look at all the money Elon Musk is going to save us by canning all these useless people that are doing nothing more helpful than giving out soup to the starving.
Or showing, what was it, Afghanistan, he's Duchamp's fountain. Have you seen that footage?
No, it sounds like something I want to stay away from.
It does. I did in full disclosure. It tells you about the flaw in my character. I actually did a contemporary art degree. I fully used to buy the Duchamp. But so anyway, Doge, which is USAID, had a lot of money allocated to teaching modern art to the Middle East.
Oh, right.
And you sort of go, well, I can't say that. On one hand, I go, that is a waste of taxpayers' money. But on the other hand, I go, I took a full grant to do a degree to learn about Duchamp's fountain. So I can't be a hypocrite.
Most of these things aren't. Well, I mean, there's a kernel of truth in that.
Yes.
You know, like most first world countries do, there is a pot of money in America to give to third world countries for development. And there was one like, why are we giving condoms to Hamas? Was the thing I saw.
Yeah.
Why are we giving condoms to Hamas? And what it was a USAID program in Mozambique.
That's right.
Where the town where the the logistic town was called Gaza, just happened to have the same name.
Right.
So they're giving out condoms in Mozambique because that's a hotbed of AIDS, and if you want to stop AIDS in the world, you have to stop it where it's happening most. I mean, most of us
Makes
accept
sense. Just cut off
that.
at the source. Makes sense.
We're not hermetically sealed in our country, even though people on the right tend to think that that's how it works.
Or should.
So, yeah. Because we've got airports, people fly in, they have sex.
I remember
it
that
goes
scene
around.
Trump was in the Oval. Musk was in the Oval Office with like fucking XR1211 on his shoulders, wasn't he? And the reporter goes, "You said we shouldn't be sending condoms to Gaza, and there's actually Mozambique." And he's going, "Oh, we shouldn't be sending them anywhere." And I was thinking, you can't have people. That's the sort of thing I would say and do. Like, read a headline and get it completely wrong and go off half-cocked and then go, well, it doesn't matter anyway. This bloke's sort of second in command, it feels like. He's a bit more due diligence required.
Yeah, well, this is what happens with kleptocracies, and we had it here with. So yeah, it was the same with it was the same with Dominic Cummings. When you have a kleptocracy, you have somebody who knows that they know 3/5 of fuck all about the most important job in their country. And they're like, what do? I need somebody who isn't accountable to the electorate because they might try and save their own skin. I need someone who is completely reliant on me and is just, a plan. So Elon's doing the same job that Dominic Cummings did for Boris.
Yeah, I saw this thing. I think it's that bloke with curly hair looks like Miriam Margoyle, whatever she's called. Is it Rory Sutherland? Miriam, do you know what I mean?
Rory, the Tory who smoked dope in Afghanistan and did heroin.
Oh no, I'm thinking this
Hindu
guy's.
Kush.
He might be. This guy's like an advertiser.
Oh no! I know. Oh, sorry. You mean the economic psychology guy?
Yeah, he looks like that Miriam Margoyle woman, whatever she's called, doesn't he? And he was going, he's large and got curly hair. He goes, oligarchs and billionaires leaving the country. They don't like democracy because they don't like having one vote because everyone's got one vote. They only like things that they can have more of. So he goes, that's why they actually love moving to places like Dubai, where it's like everyone, the working class get treated terribly, but they get treated well. And I guess that's like you're saying, like Elon Musk, he's come into how can a billionaire really be a fan of democracy? Because democracy is we're all equal, or got the same amount of say, isn't it? Billionaires, that's the opposite of their MO, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. Well, democracy is in quite a dark place generally at the moment, isn't it? Because those who don't believe in it have. I mean, it's like I'm sorry to follow Poe's law. Sorry, Godwin's law, isn't it? Godwin's law that everything ends with the Nazis. But
or soon.
It is true. Hitler was voted in the first instance. He then dismantled democracy once he'd done that. So it is always, democracy can lead you to the dark place, but it's very hard to get back from the dark place to a democracy, because once you have a sort of a tyranny in place, the tyrant doesn't tend to want to give that up if it's working for them. What is going to happen in 4 years if Trump? Will there even be an election? This is what we're wondering, isn't it? Will there be an election? If Trump loses it, is he going to go?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the thing.
How close to civil war is the US?
How close was it on January the 6th? Was it then? All them years ago, 4 years ago, whenever it was. I mean, that seemed. I mean, I'm again seeing so it's just I don't know. Everything's got weird the last 10 years, isn't it? Like I never thought that we'd hear like releasing the JFK files, this UAP stuff, and just like people invading the sort of like government buildings in Washington DC. I just watch it with my mouth open, going, "This is like a weird, like an alternative timeline." It's just so bizarre.
It's like the other half of the coin to when we watched the Berlin Wall coming down.
Yeah,
it was that moment of wonder reversed, a moment of anti-wonder. What the fuck is this? But I think, the reason why we're all on a downer with democracy is that America, which is supposed to be the world's greatest democracy, has proved to us that it's not a democracy, because in a democracy, everybody is similarly culpable. Like if you were to walk off the street, walk into the Capitol building and smash up the lectern, you'd be in a shitload of trouble. You'd probably never see your mum and dad again. You'd be locked away. But because the stakes were so high, because it was Trump doing it, it was like, all these court cases that were pending that all got swept under the carpet and sidelined and sidetracked. And it's like a bank that's, robbed millions, but it's too big to fail. So we pretend that didn't happen. And the banker who's stolen millions he's okay. Whereas if you stole 20 quid off your auntie, she could dob you into the police. You'd be in more trouble than the banker. And it's like, the bigger something is, that the less it has to follow the rules, and that's what we've seen all over the world, in this country particularly. And so those of us who are saying, "Oh, it's the end of democracy," we've kind of, we're not invited. There's nothing out there to make us think democracy's brilliant. That's the problem.
Yeah, lost faith in it.
There's people who think fuck democracy, it doesn't get anything done. Look at what Elon Musk has achieved in 1 month. Because he basically suspended all the checks and balances that the democracy is supposed to have.
That's the worry,
that makes
isn't
things,
it?
that makes things slow and difficult.
Yeah, you've had checks and balances, or a series of, that have evolved over a couple of centuries, swiped away instantly. And I don't know. What is it? What do you think is going on with the general population that we just don't do? We don't fucking care enough. I just feel like I don't care enough. I feel quite ashamed.
No, it's like no one believes in anything anymore. And like even friends of mine are saying, "Oh, I can't believe I think Trump's got a point about Zelensky. Let's get out of Ukraine. Why are we spending money in Ukraine when our pensioners are dying?" And I'm like, well, those two things aren't connected.
They aren't.
For a start.
Yeah.
Secondly, why are we defending Ukraine? Because if you believe in anything at all, you've got to say that a European country being invaded by a fucking tyrannical colossus is bad. I mean, that's got to be the what they used to call the pons asinorum. That the point whereby if you don't believe this, you don't believe anything, and if you can't come to terms with this, you can't. There's no point talking to you about anything. So Ukraine for me is a real. It really is that narrow bridge whereby if you can't meet me on the other side of this, then I'm not sure how I'm going to talk to you. And so I'm falling out with people left, right, and centre because it's easy. It's easy to draw a false equivalent. We're giving billions to Ukraine, but my grandma can't afford potatoes. Yeah, those two things might be true.
Yeah,
but if we could stop supporting Ukraine tomorrow, your grandma still wouldn't have any potatoes.
Yeah, sure. And I think that's the thing with America.
They're not on a seesaw with each other.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying. And I sort of get that's the thing with America. They've all sort of like, my mum's an American. I grew up near an American air bases, and it was sort of like in the town I lived, there was a lot of Americans, and they did believe their own hype that they were the good guys, the peacekeepers, the freedom fighters since World War II. And it seems like all of a sudden their eggs have got a bit expensive and they're like, fuck that, stop doing everything. It's like, you can't
what was all this eggs business?
Yeah, our eggs are too much money now. Let's stop this, like, let everyone get invaded. But like I said, I became suspicious when I wasn't seeing any, I don't know what that is.
What I don't get about, just on the eggs, America has got the biggest battery farms in the world. I mean, they keep their chickens in, straitjackets.
Yeah.
They pump them full of chemicals. They just like poke them in the ribs. Make eggs, make eggs, make eggs. These farms are like the size of Luxembourg. If America can't make cheap eggs, then what the fuck can it do?
Yeah.
I mean, there's only one reason why a country in the course of human history imposes tariffs. Tariffs have been proven not to work. And there's only one reason a country brings them in, and that's because its exports aren't competitive.
Yeah.
And the main reason why your exports aren't competitive is because the stuff you're making shit.
Yeah. Or expensive.
And if America, as the world's greatest democracy, is making shit products that nobody wants.
Yeah.
because the Chinese products not only cheaper but usually now also better.
Yes.
And this is the problem that they voted Trump in to deal with, and he is probably the least capable
This is
person
my
in the world
theory, Liam.
of understanding the nuances of international trade.
If someone just comes in like him, and it's simple. If he says it's just simple, one word. He was going one word, tariffs. And I always think if the person who's telling you that this normally deemed to be complex issue is simple, they're fucking sick. The person saying it's the simple thing, he's sick. Because he came in and went, oh, the great word tariffs, as if like no one's ever thought of it before. So can you explain why I don't know what a tariff is.
You don't know what a tariff is?
Not really. I've seen one in a bar. Like, say bar tariff, and it'd have the price
you've ordered. I'm sure you've ordered something from Europe, and whereas it used to turn up at your house without any fuss, the post office writes to you and say, "Oh, you owe us 26 quid for this."
Is it like a border tax sort of thing?
Yeah.
Right.
So because it hasn't been produced in Britain, it's coming from. Right. The idea is that because it hasn't been made here, it's depriving our own industry of money it could have made.
Yeah.
So let's get that back by charging you.
So say I'm going to oversimplify it for me. So say British Leyland, if you remember, them made a car, and the government would have got £5,000 off that car. If I bought a BMW and got it imported from Germany, the government would say, "Well, we need our £5,000 tax from your car." So that's their way of getting that. It's simplified, kind of.
And that's what used to happen. Well, I import. My job is importing.
I know you're Japanese car dude.
So I have to pay. I have to buy the car in Japan. Then I have to pay 20% import duty, and then I have to pay 20% on all of that. Well, not just the car, but the shipping, the logistics, the import duty, and then 20% on all of that again. So by the time I sell the car, it's about 3 times what I bought the car for, because you can buy the car for almost nothing in Japan. But I can't drive it, can you? And that's all taxes, that's all tariffs. Are they too high? According to me, yes. But if we didn't have that, I mean, the cars I bring in from Japan are so much better than the shit you'd buy here. Like, it's so much better than buying a Kia or a
Swindon Honda.
Or a Vauxhall, for God's sake. I mean, why?
Yeah.
That if there was no taxes or tariffs, people like me bringing cars from Japan, we would have the whole market, because you wouldn't. I would be able to sell you a shit hot
Skyline.
Well, yeah, and no, because they've all rusted to bits.
Have they? That was my. I've always loved the Skyline.
A shit hot Honda, like a sort of a Toyota Athlete or something that was just so much better than anything, and it would be like, I could sell it for you for like 3,000 quid, and it would have 10,000 miles on it, and it would be pristine, and so they're trying to protect the domestic car market, but they're not actually trying to protect a domestic car market, because we don't have one anymore.
No, we don't.
They're trying to protect the agreements we've made with BMW and Kia and other people who build their cars here and sell them domestically.
So he hasn't invented tariffs. So how can it be that he's gone, I'm going to do tariffs, and everyone's like, oh, that's a good idea? Like, how has no one else either thought of it, or B, are the economists going, this bloke's off his fucking head? Like, because he seems like he's reinvented the wheel, but it's an old thing. It's not a new thing.
It's a very old thing, and we used to have. The old days of. It's so far in the past that when you think of smugglers, you tend to think of Jamaica Inn and pirates and boats being wrecked off the coast of Cornwall, because that's how far we have to go back to have a tariff system anything like as. Clunking fist like as Trump is bringing in now, because we used to have tariffs on everything, because the French made delicious wine, and there was brandy from Portugal, and everyone wanted it, and the government was like, well, no, that's got like a 40% tax on it, and no one wanted to pay that, because everybody wanted this stuff and nobody could afford it,
and we could make
tax on it. So we couldn't make it. We can't make brandy or even wine.
Or Roquefort.
Not without a lot more global warming. But so, smuggling was everyone's business. And in the end, it became so much that was it Peel? Finally, I'm trying to remember my O-level history now, but came in and just got rid of the tax system and just made a very simple sort of, a simple tax, import tax that everyone could afford. And then it was like, and everyone was suddenly like, oh, okay, trade works better now. And also we're managing to sell them as much as they're giving us. And then we had the idea of laissez-faire, which is held true in the world up until pretty much now. The idea of free trade and free ports. And the idea that in the end you put it, the problem is America has a massive disparity of trade. America owes $34 trillion. It is $34 trillion in debt because of its disparity of trade, because it's not making anything that anyone wants, and its people desire stuff that China wants. Like most of America's debt is owned by China and Japan, and they have massive surplus because they're making stuff that everyone wants. They don't want that much of what anyone else is making. So America has a debt of 34 trillion because America's manufacturing sector has collapsed to almost nothing.
Yeah.
Like America used to make cars, it used to make machine tools, it used to make agricultural equipment, it used to make all sorts of stuff.
Makes missiles is about their best thing, isn't it?
Yeah, all of that is too expensive. It can't export any of that stuff anymore. Nobody wants that stuff anymore. Ford is most of their car companies have collapsed.
Yeah.
Ford's still going because it builds its factories are in cheaper countries.
Yeah.
So what America makes is, military hardware.
Yeah, and I tell you
military
what else,
hardware and tech. So what it's got is it's got two powerful forces: an actual army, air force, navy that can twat anyone else in the world if it wants to, and tech that can get into everyone's heads on Facebook and X and all of that, and try and infect us that way. These are the two. Actually making stuff America can't do anymore. That's why it's going to. So it's trying to say, how do we get back this massive deficit? How can we possibly, as the most powerful country in the world, be in debt to the tune of 34 million? And this is making Americans really angry. And the only answer that Trump can think of is, well, let's throw our weight around. We've got an army and we've got tech. So let's use these two things to just bully the rest of the world. Like that's going to get rid of the trade deficit problem. But
it just seems too simple. I mean, I don't understand the ins and outs of it, but I feel like he doesn't either. That's the problem.
Well, if you think about trade and stuff moving around the world, I mean, if you take over the Panama Canal, then you can stop most of it happening. Yeah. It's like if you're a child and you're losing at Monopoly, you just want to kick the board over, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
So that's basically, it's like they stop trade. Tariffs just stop trade, basically. That's all they do.
Yeah.
And holding
Price
the Panama Canal, saying, no ships are getting through here anymore. You just stop trade. It's just kicking the board over. And that's the direction he's moving in. And if he can take over the whole of Canada, then he can kind of, the idea is that America will produce everything that it needs, so it won't need to trade with anyone anymore. It'll have all the rare earth metals, it'll have all the coal, it'll have all the bitumen, it'll have everything that it requires, and we won't need to trade with anything. I mean, Nazi Germany again tried this. Yeah. It was called autarky. It was like and they tried making everything in Germany, including sacks for grain. They tried making sacks out of paper. It didn't work. They fell apart. They needed Hessian from other countries. It just, so there's always going to be something you can't make.
So then is the extension of that, oh, this neighbouring country has Hessian, let's invade it and make that part of our country. Is that how self-sufficiency?
That's basically... Any child who's played, Civilization on the PC knows this reasoning.
Yeah,
because it does Trump's
seem
reasoning.
Like that, doesn't it? And I guess as you were talking, I was thinking about America's exports, and I was thinking, you're right, tech is one, but again, Hollywood seems to be like not on the wane, but it's definitely come to the end of its heyday. I think. I don't think that their exports of culture are going to carry on as they have been.
Yeah, well, I think America has tremendous soft power. The idea of America and the idea of liberty and freedom and the cowboys and that whole cultural milieu is very, very powerful. But Trump doesn't really understand soft power. He only understands hard punch people in the face power.
Do you think that's where he might be dropping a bollock with this Doge in USA then? Because that is soft power. A lot of those programs, aren't they? It's about influencing overseas. And if he's going to come in and sort of like shut all those down as a waste of money, does he not realise how valuable some of those programs are possibly?
I think that's very, very true. I think that when those boxes arrive in starving countries with, a gift from the people of the USA, I think that, because but it's not quantifiable.
No, exactly. That's why it's soft power.
It's all a bit too, it's all a
Nuanced,
bit too
subtle.
amorphous for him to get his head around.
Yeah, that's
he wants to see figures.
Yeah, but then again, you're right. Like, it's going to sort of like just start pissing every country off with imposing tariffs and stop. He's withdraw. He's shrinking the America's soft power program, if that is what you see USA does. I'm sure it doesn't hurt. It's ridiculous spending all this money on an Iraqi Sesame Street, but it's inserting your culture in another place, isn't it? And that's not got no consequence.
It's exactly. I mean, if there is an Iraqi Sesame Street, I can only imagine that did so much more good than invading the country.
Yeah, because they would do things like
and so much
leaflets.
more. Yeah, so much more of a lasting influence.
Yeah, if you're going to win hearts and minds, you want to win it for the kids, isn't it? I guess makes sense.
I mean, when you if you go to a country like Botswana and say to them, what do you think of Britain? None of them will say, oh, you used to own us, because they don't remember that. And we didn't do anything too horrific there that it's made a sort of, scar in the national conscience. There was no Amritsar or anything going on there. So you say, what do you think of when you say Britain? They'll say, oh, the Beatles.
Cultural touchstones, yeah.
Castles.
Cups of tea, fish and chips.
Yeah.
But I guess what's the difference? I mean, Trump and the Democrats, Republicans, all of them, the donor, they accept millions and millions of dollars from donors and will campaign to win over their own people. I guess USA, you could argue, is kind of doing that on a global scale in some cases, isn't it? So how does all of a sudden it's a waste of money, but they're happy to spend millions of dollars to win the election? Same thing.
Well, because it's like Trump is just playing to the same demographic over and over again. It's like when Margaret Thatcher first came along, she was right from the word go. She was massively popular with a certain demographic, sort of horsey women of a certain age loved her, but her like Airy Neve said to her, you need to stop playing to this demographic over and over. Yeah, they love you. They can't get enough of you, but you've already got their vote.
Yeah.
You need to expand. Trump is just playing to the same people. If you look at his base has moved. It didn't actually have to get. In fact, I think did he get less votes when he actually won than when he lost? Because not so many people voted.
Oh no, if you
look at it, his base doesn't move very much because he doesn't understand going beyond that. And it doesn't matter to him that countries that loved America and loved the idea of America and loved what America represented now fucking hate America.
Well, Canada.
And Canada, he doesn't care about that because he doesn't understand the value of wishy-washy ideas like friendship or being admired or people saying nice things about you in a room where you're not there. He doesn't understand these vague, nebulous ideas. Yeah. He understands people either being afraid of you or
in your pocket, working for you,
or being part of you. Yeah.
So do you think that comes from his life of being this kind of like controversial property mogul? I mean, it's almost like he always. If you think about it, it's sounds like a villain that he was always in Trump Tower. It does sound like something, doesn't it? Like in his kind of like lair, surrounded by like workers that didn't really like him, but he didn't care because he was insulated. I mean, he's never had a normal life, has he?
Well, it's difficult because again, I'm getting, I know about all his failed businesses, like his failed university and his failed steak and chips business, all the things but then I'm being fed all this by my friends who are sharing memes about what a dick he is. So
exactly. So
I'm assuming he must have had some success.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to get you on, because I saw Sam Harris on Trigonometry talking about Trump. And I thought, oh, they called it TDS, don't they? I don't like when things get a little label because I think it makes them one-dimensional. But it stands for Trump derangement syndrome, and people just think everything about Orange Man bad, they say. And I was like, I knew that you wouldn't. You've got the sort of like zoom out. You zoom out enough to know that you're exactly how I started this. Everything I see is so pro-Trump, I'm suspicious. And everything you're seeing so anti-Trump, you seem like you're also suspicious. I go, well, he can't be a complete fucking idiot because he is the president and he's must have been good at something, but no one wants to. And everything I see is how successful and amazing he is. I've never seen such universal love for a politician, and that is my algorithm. I'm aware of that.
Well, this is, I think what social media does for us is it wants to drug us, and it wants to give us that kind of warm, fuzzy, soothing feeling. Like, I really like to imagine that against all odds, Ukraine is winning the war against Russia. And YouTube just feeds me of, oh, Ukraine's done it again. Oh, a massive drone strike. Oh, most of Russia's on fire now. How's it going to carry on with this war? So then when it, I don't know, accidentally or because I've already watched all those films, so it has to give me something new. Then I see some sort of Russian shill, like, who's that Norwegian guy? And it's somebody who comes along and says, Ukraine's on its knees. It can't fight anymore.
Tucker Carlson's a bit of a Russian shit, isn't he?
Yes, it's being beaten up. Then it's very hard for me to think there might be some truth in that because I've seen so much shit saying that's nonsense. So it's so hard to get the truth now. And I keep going to like the nearest thing we have. I don't really trust the BBC, but the nearest thing, I think on the whole, the BBC is trying to give a fair. But so I go to the BBC, what's the latest on Ukraine? And it doesn't really have anything because the Ukraine war's been going on for so long now. It's kind of lost interest.
It's treading water, isn't it? That
nobody's interested. Yeah. No one's interested anymore. Let's talk about, Kendrick Jenner or something. And I'm like, well, I'm still interested, and I'd like to know what is really going on. But do you
think that there is a truth anymore, Liam? I don't want to get too, but I just feel like there is. I feel like we've all. Do you remember Qamar Kalali? Do you remember him, the Iraqi press secretary guy that would stand in front of the tanks rolling into Baghdad, going, "Oh, the Americans are killing themselves." But he's like he was just lying. That hyper-normalization. Yes. And I just feel like every outlet is fucking him.
But you see, if that was happening now, you would be able to get yourself into a rabbit hole where you were just bombarded with people agreeing with Qamar Kalali, saying the Americans are being wiped out. Yeah. Until the point where Iraq surrendered and it became insupportable as an idea anymore. So you could quite happily delude yourself.
That's what I'm saying. We've all got everyone we look at, and every person I see speaking on the media, they are Qamar Kalali just for different sides. They're all just giving me their truth. Now I'm old and think I'm from an era where there was, well, people used to say there's three sides to every story: your side, my side, and the truth. But now that that's what's happened with politics, is it? Because the algorithm, it wants engagements. Are we getting the politicians that we deserve, as in they are just pandering to fucking whichever? They're so polarised. Do you know what I mean?
There's even a reason to get paranoid about this, isn't there? Because in the olden days, like, nobody knew what was going on. Like, I used to work on the Times, and the bit that I did was like on this day. So I'd do a news story from way back to when this Times started, and the Times started just before the American Revolution, right? So I did a story on the Times reporting, we've lost America. America is now independent. But that didn't arrive in front of people until about a month and a half after it happened. So it wasn't even news anymore. So there wasn't even any reason to go, we must do something, because there's nothing you can do anymore. It happened a month and a half ago.
Yeah. That's more
and
like
it didn't
bulletin,
affect most people anyway. So it used to be that none of us had access to the news. Even the people who sat in coffee shops reading newspapers thinking they were very special, they didn't really know what the news was. Nobody knew what the news was. It was all just whisper and hearsay. And then for about in the 90s, it reached a pinnacle where we all knew what was going on immediately as it was happening, and it was actually news and it was actually believable. And now there's so much shit that we've kind of gone back to, and I think this must be delightful for people who work for like MI5 and MI6, because they used to be the only people who knew what was going on. And now, once again, they are the only people who really know what's going on.
They are. And so do you think that that's it? We get bombarded with black is black, black is white. But basically, they'll say that this is how the war in Ukraine's going. It's going in favour of the Ukrainians. At the same time, we get equal amount of reports saying it's going in favour of the Russians. We don't know what the fuck's going on. Does anybody? Do you think that there are puppeteers that do know?
When I'm getting a feed that's full of people who believe that the Earth is flat and have got 16 million likes from people that also agree with them that the Earth is flat, and saying, mountains are really melted buildings from the Tartarian
ancient
period.
Trees, yeah.
The whole ancient trees. People who are so willfully fucking stupid that they really should just be taken out and drowned in a puddle. But there's so many of them that you have
There's more than ever. It's growing.
They get in. And you can't, you like pushing against the door, going, no, take your shit somewhere else, you mad cunt. But you can't do anything, because they're everywhere.
Do you not think that that's...
It's not surprising. Some people think that, Russia's winning or Ukraine's winning. Or,
yeah, but that's the thing. So do you think that that's... When we are so... I actually have more sympathy in respect that people are so fucking confused by everything, the fundamental laws of our existence. People are now just don't know. I don't think that everyone's going, I don't know anything. If you just tell people... Have you seen Hypernormalization by Adam Curtis? Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah. I just feel like everyone's just told, we're so bombarded with contradictory and mutually exclusive information that both can't be true. I think we've all got mental health issues as a species.
Well, I think we probably already have, and I find this quite humbling when, somebody says to me, because, I was brought up in the Christian tradition and I never questioned it really, and there's always going to be a part of me that believes it's true. And when people say, well, okay, so you think that a piece of bread or a cracker can, through transubstantiation, become actually the flesh of Jesus Christ? Isn't that a little bit mad? And I have to think, well, yeah, it is. In fact, there's room to argue that's not any less mad than thinking that the Earth is flat.
It's not.
It's just that had everyone in Western civilization believing it at one point.
Yeah, everyone agreed on that. And I guess that's the thing. Have you seen about, before we got that, have you seen about that quantum computer shit? That is meant. Have you seen it? They reckon it does calculations in another dimension. Have you seen that?
Oh, okay.
And
yes.
And they're doing teleportation, Liam.
Absolute. Has to be kept at absolute zero.
Yeah, and they're doing teleportation. They've done it with like only 1 or 2 atoms. It's like, what?
Right. Okay.
I would have said that was insane. I don't know what's going on, but like you said, everything that people have believed in and had a consensus on. That's what that is the word. I think we are living in a post-consensus time where nobody can agree on anything. I don't know what the fuck's going on. It's just that I just think that even think something is the shape of the Earth, which we all knew. Now there is a growing movement of people that are going, well, I don't know, and it is quite compelling if you look into it. Like just in terms of, it's not as not compelling, but it's kind of like seductive. I do find all that shit. But so anyway,
but I mean, I think everybody is mad to some extent.
I think we're aware of it.
But I think actually people who are mad in small, boring ways can be more dangerous, because it's like one of my jobs is the most boring job in the world, and that's being a district councillor, right? So I have to look at a planning arrangement to build a load of houses on a green field, and my political point is, you shouldn't do that, because we've got a shit ton of brownfield land that we don't need to build on the countryside, and we've lost 70% of our wildlife. So maybe try and save some of it. So that's my starting point. But every planning application starts with this will be a biodiversity net gain. So everything that's ever built in this country starts from the standpoint of this is good for the environment. Pouring concrete on a field is good for the environment. Building a container port or a cement factory on a beautiful coastal landscape is good for the environment. That is the starting point of any building plan that comes before a district council. Biodiversity net gain. If it doesn't claim to have biodiversity net gain, it can't go forward.
Sorry, I
So
don't follow. So it's not though, is it? But that's their.
it's not.
Is that the sort of sheep's clothing that they've put around the wolf, if you like?
Well, because biodiversity is such a
Bullshit
nothing
term.
idea.
Yes.
It's like when you build a car factory and you count and you plant 5 trees.
I was gonna
And you
say
say,
that,
yeah, but if you look at the maths I've done, it proves that these trees are soaking up more CO2 than all these cars are going to create.
Yeah.
And if you do the maths a certain way, you can prove pretty much anything, can't you?
Yeah, spin.
So-
A spin, isn't it?
So that when I did that, it was really eye-opening, and it proved to me that everything we do in this country is based on a lie to begin with. It's the starting point for everything we build in this country is
Yeah, I
based
see
on
what you mean,
an act of mass delusion.
That's
And
like
it's
a
like when
religion,
we go
isn't
in
it?
there-
You all buy that. You all believe that. Like we believe that this wafer is the flesh of Christ, and like no
It
one.
is an act of transubstantiation
Yes, it is, isn't
that
it?
we do to make it okay.
Right, so when you're in these council meetings, because that's the thing, I think this is the thing. Like, I think that what I was trying to say just then is like, I think that we have to be aware that the truth, like you said, by the time it gets down to us, it has been so manipulated through so many layers of someone else self-serving, maybe, that you believe that building a concrete factory is carbon neutral or even beneficial, whatever you said. But the truth that we are packaged as the truth very rarely, it was like you said, there was a kernel of truth in it.
Yeah.
But I just think you have to be so aware of that, and I just think that we're becoming less aware of it. I just think that I don't know where I'm going with this, but like I said, it started with me when he's talking about. I was looking at my algorithm, and I've got a deep distrust of authority and order. I was all a bit anarchic, punky sort of teenager, skater. I'd never trusted the man. Do you know what I mean? And the only reason I've started to really question the algorithm is because it's so positive in terms of Trump, and I'm like, this is not right. I need to hear a dissenting voice, and I've noticed that the dissenting voices are just disappearing from my algorithm. It seems insane. It seems more targeted or focused.
Well, you could, I don't know, do an experiment, make 4 or 5 posts saying Trump's a cunt and see if that changes your algorithm.
Yeah, I guess I could have just done
I mean,
that.
I probably only will. It only will if you get some engagement with that.
Yeah. So when you're in the council, do you sort of get those little people that think they really can change things? That's bullshit, isn't it? They can do a little bit of change, but some people...
The reason why Keir Starmer is getting rid of all local government and replacing it with a massive regional rubber stamping centre in all parts of Britain, like local democracy. See, we were talking about it being, bedtime for democracy. In this country, it's starting on the local level. Starmer is basically wiping out local government. So I got to let someone else in my gate.
That's all right, mate.
So it's my kids.
That's all right.
Who've gone and got some eggs so we can make
Not from America,
Yorkshire puddings. Yes, some overpriced eggs.
Yeah, so again, my algorithm is so anti-Starmer as well as nobody seems to like him in my reality. What I see, is he a prick?
I think that's your algorithm trying to find a right wing sort of a really sort of brutal, unnuanced right wing standpoint that you'll agree and engage with. Because if you're the sort of person that if when you see something about isn't Starmer a dick, you'll go, yes, he is, then that's perfect. I mean, Trump has been gold for an engine that wants only engagement. Trump is perfect because it can pump Trump everywhere. It'll pump Trump to people and they'll go, yeah, I agree, he's brilliant.
Yeah, because it's so polarizing.
No, how dare you say that, he's a cunt. Whichever way it goes, it gets responses. And it gets either likes or angry faces, and it gets. I mean, it is like, reactions are the fuel of Facebook. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't understand the business model of Facebook because it doesn't seem to advertise anything that's worth anything.
No.
And I never engage with its adverts. I never give a second thought to anything that's advertised on Facebook
So do you
because
think
I
it could
just
be a?
presume it's a scam.
Do you
So I
think
don't even know
it could
how
be
it
some
makes
sort of
money.
psyop? That's how they're soft powering us. Do you know what I mean? Using soft power
Yeah.
over us.
Yeah, so I do tend to think, so what is the point of Facebook?
Yeah,
Because
and
it's
who's
not
funding
selling
it?
me
Who's
anything.
bankrolling it?
I don't know anyone stupid enough to buy a
Yeah.
pretend Japanese sword or whatever else it's
A
trying to
katana.
tell me to buy.
But
Katana.
yeah. So we'll see.
Plastic katana.
Yeah, we will see if Trump does become a dictator. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't know. And that's the other thing, before we go quickly, I've kept you long enough, is the one thing that I do look at, I'm like, oh, you've got this wrong, is the Americans seem to really love Tommy Robinson, don't they? Have you noticed this?
Yeah.
That's insane, isn't it?
Because we're just on a different plane to them. You can be somebody who's considered racist enough that his mates down the pub say, "Oh, fucking leave it out, mate. If you're going to carry on like this, I can't have another drink with you." To be that level racist in America is nothing. That's just nothing. Unless you're on CNN. Unless you're a news anchor for CNN, that's an acceptable level of racism.
I guess what's happened here is we've left Europe thinking we had this special relationship with America. Now, as you said earlier, we've seemed to have realised we are nothing like them. We've kind of found ourselves in the middle a little bit, not in one camp or the other, haven't we?
Well, I think, I voted Remain, and then I got really pissed off with everyone who was still going on about, I wanted to join the "you lost, get over it" camp because I'm just so fed up of hearing all the moaning. Like, okay, it happened. I didn't vote for it, but the sky hasn't fallen in.
You've sort of like held your hands up and gone, that's democracy in a way.
Yeah, exactly. It was voted for, and I don't buy all this stuff. Oh, they were tricked. They were tricked. No one was fucking tricked. Both sides were giving bollocks stories about if you vote this way, this will happen. If anyone lost it for us, it was Eddie Izzard turning up in his pink beret and just talking nonsense. I mean, I nearly voted Leave because of Eddie Izzard.
I was going to say, there's some people that can make you cut off your nose to spite your face. They're just so annoying. You're like, fuck you. I will burn it all to hell just to make you unhappy. Yeah. That can happen.
But having said that, the world has changed so much since we had that referendum, and we are up shit creek without a paddle. We don't really have any friends, and we don't have. I do kind of think if Keir Starmer had a bit more about him, he would just jump in there and say, "Hey, Mexico, hey, Canada, let's." He's been trying to make trade deals that no one was interested in for the last 5 years. Can we make a deal now?
Yeah.
Because just to stick it to that, but he doesn't want to stick it to Trump. Of all the leaders in Europe, Starmer is the one who's got his tongue up Trump's arse. All the others have said, "Well, no, I'm sorry, there's a line and you're about to cross it." Starmer's not saying anything like that.
No,
he's just rimming the guy, and it's quite.
Why do you think that
is
see. Then? Is that because just fear or easy?
Because he knows we're in a pickle. I mean, we really are.
Do you think he knows that we're in more of a pickle than we know? Does he see behind the curtain and go, "Fuck, we're really fucked"?
He probably does, and he probably realises that. There are things Britain could do that other countries can't. I mean, we have a Commonwealth that has, a lot of possibilities that no one's even explored. Like if we removed all tariffs, if we removed all trade bars in the Commonwealth, if we removed all immigration bars in the Commonwealth, that would terrify a lot of people. But if we turned the Commonwealth into a free trade area, that would shake the whole fucking world up. It might not work. I
don't feel like
it might be a disaster. But we do have options, but they require a lot of courage.
That's it. And do you think he doesn't have that? That's what I'm saying.
He doesn't have any courage. He's a lawyer. So when you're a lawyer, you learn to think in the way of, yes, you've got right on your side. Yes, you've got justice on your side. Yes, but you might get a magistrate who doesn't see it that way, and it's not worth the money. It's not worth the risk. And
I guess
things that lawyers look at, they say, "I'm sorry, mate, I've looked at it. This isn't worth the risk."
Well, what they look at, Liam, if you think about it, is precedents. So it's like, oh,
Yeah.
someone else has done this, so we should do that. They never do a new thing, do they? It's always this case went this way, a precedent was set. This is a test case. So they basically want history to repeat itself, and that's not a leader to me. That's a leader should have at least the ability to sort of like imagine a bold future.
Yeah, well, I've met a lot of lawyers in my life, and I've never met one that was like Al Pacino in And Justice for All.
No.
And he just says, I'm out of order, you're out of order, oh, fucking court's out of order, this country's out of order. Yeah. They're all just like, yes, my lord, yeah, okay.
They're playing a very meticulous set of rules, aren't they? They're sort of like line towers, I guess.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much, Liam. Is there anything is there anything good on the horizon? Is there any sort of positivity you see? Because I don't, like in terms of Trump or Starmer or anything.
I think the world's in a very, very dark place now. I think what we were all hoping is that Trump just says things that he doesn't have any intention of doing, because that's what he did for most of his first term. But now he seems to have a point to prove, and he's actually doing the mad things that he says.
Well, what he's done is he's surrounded himself
all bets are off, really.
He's surrounded himself with people that are going to do it, isn't it? He's like assembled these. It's a bit like one of those films like The Dirty Dozen or something. They get all the misfits and put them all in one unit. That seems like that's what he's doing, isn't it? I do like, I don't know, is it RFK? I sort of listened to him talk about food, and I agree with him a lot of the stuff about their food.
What Trump reminds me of is when I was 5 years old, my next door neighbour had got a new climbing frame and slide, and my friend Brian said, it's not fair that he's got a new slide. I'm going to break into his garden and shit on his slide. And our first reaction was, that's ridiculous. Not going to do that. But then someone else said, I think it was Paul Beaton, said, go on then.
Yeah.
And then we also said, go on then. Yeah, go on then. That would be great if you did that. Yeah. And then he did. He broke in there, shat on the slide. He wasn't allowed out of the house for the next 2 weeks.
To sum up your opinion of the
Brian coming out to play, no, he shat on a slide. So that's that egging on thing.
That Go on, and do it. Let's see if you dare do it. You can't back out. That's a toxic male thing. So to sum it all up, you're basically saying that the global world politics at the moment is the Blue Peter Guard and vandalism.
Yeah, with Dennis Wise. Dennis Wise is in charge of the free world.
Thank you so much, Steve. I've really enjoyed that, because I feel like, I don't know, I think that what I'm trying to do with this project is I'm trying to build bridges between the echo chambers, like not in any grand way, but I'm sick of like people just think like we're now people that have an opposing opinion are now untouchables to everyone. So I can't talk to them, and I'm like, well, that's not going to do any good, is it? We're just sort of retreating into our own little factions. I don't know if you agree with that, but it was interesting because I saw you criticising Trump. I knew you'd have receipts of why. And I just thought, well, I want to hear why I shouldn't trust him, because all my fucking computer is telling me that I should, and I don't trust my computer.
I think Trump has, because you can have a reason for not liking someone, but then more powerful than that is your sort of visceral things that just make your flesh crawl. And I think Trump makes most people, even people on the right, it makes them, because he has no sense of humour, and that is so anathema to us as British people.
He's never laughed in public.
We can't quite see him as human.
Yeah,
and we can never trust him because he has no self-awareness. And if you're British, having an overdeveloped sense of awareness, being able to say, "Oh, what a twat I am! Look what I've done now," and he could never do that in a million years.
It's human, isn't it, to do that?
He could never try and make himself some eggs and get them on the floor and go, "Oh, what a twat I am." He couldn't do that basic fucking thing.
Yeah.
And if you can't look at yourself and go, "Oh, I'm a bit of an idiot,"
he'd just hyperbole, the best omelette, the greatest omelette.
You're not even human.
Yeah, this is the greatest omelette, the best omelette, the greatest omelette.
Yeah. Everybody likes this omelette.
A lot of people like my omelette. The best omelette. They say it's the best. It's like, no, they don't, mate.
Your omelette would do a lot better if it was part of my omelette.
Yeah, tariffs on omelettes. Anyway, Liam, thank you so much, man.
All right, they can't afford omelettes now anyway.
No, exactly.
So
only billionaires.
It's all academic.
But then we're talking about billionaires go to Dubai to eat a boiled egg. Do you know what I mean? A Fabergé boiled egg. Thank you so much.
Cheers, then.
Cheers, Liam.
Thanks. Bye.